ago, legitimately. So good morning, everybody. So we are going to just jump right into conversations, right? So I want you guys all to start with a simple thing that you write down. Every day we have a choice. Will we make it complicated or will we choose to make it simple? Same thing either way. Will we make it complicated or will we choose to make it simple? I believe that simplicity is a choice. Making things complicated is a reaction. Now think about that. When I tell you that you have to practice a certain conversation that you're going to have with people, what is your normal thought? Like what comes to play? Is it excitement? Is it angst? Is it I can't do this? Is it this is not for me? I don't have time for this. What is it? Share. And Julie O'Malley, you're going to share with us today. You don't know it, but I'm going to put you on the spot. Ahmed, my man. All right. So here's an exercise. Here's an exercise that I want you guys all to get present at doing. Julie, you're always nervous. That's fine. So here's what I want you guys to think about. A lot of times, right? The reason I always start with this before we get into it is if you can't think through a situation differently, you can never change. And I remember when I'd worked at Compass, I'd spend all this time, and Rory Gollad was my manager. And so I'd spend all this time, I'd go to a meeting, I'd present the stuff to him, and he'd sit there, he'd look at the stuff, he'd look at it, it'd be 5 minutes into the meeting. I'm like, yeah, this really isn't it. You see this, you see this, you see this. I'd say, yeah, he'd ask me a question. He goes, all right, why don't you just take these things? I want you to think through it like this and then come back. And I'd be like, you freaking kidding me? I'm like, there's like 25, 23, 22. Like, we could just work through this. He's like, no, trust me. Go and think about it this way and then come back and present it. The first few times I did it, I left the room. I'm like, you have to be freaking kidding me. I spent hours putting this together. I was pissed. And then I realized he gave me the most important thing that anyone ever taught me in my life, how to think through things differently. So change the way that I approach things. And that was the beginning of a whole new form of accelerated growth. So I want to give you guys all the same gift, right? So if you're dealing with fear, right, in your mind, fear, anxiousness, all this stuff, it's like this. It's a destination that you don't want to end up at, correct? Now, I want you to write that destination down. And then underneath it, write down all the things that need to happen to get there, right? And most of the time, when you start looking at all of the things that have to get there, it's the most ridiculous, crazy list you've ever seen, right? What are you nervous about? Are you more nervous about having a conversation or 1 month not having money in your bank account for something you need to do, right? Like this is what we need to wrap our heads around. When you start hearing this isn't for me or all this other stuff, write down all the other things that could get you there, right? Or like, I don't want to look bad. Well, what would really have to happen for you to look bad in front of a client? You'd have to lie. You'd have to withhold information. Those are all real things, right? So before we get into our actual dialogues with sellers today and understanding pricing and motivations and expectations, Julie was probably one of the most fearful people I've ever met to choose to do video, right? And literally, if I can't influence somebody to get out of their comfort zone and then I've pushed and I push and I still can't get them to do it, it is very rare. It is very rare. But I pushed, right, Julie? And eventually I had to stop, correct?
You did. You pushed
and pushed. So the other day, she just like came up and she's like, I'm sorry, I let you down. I'm like, let me down. I go, you didn't make me a promise you didn't keep. She goes, I just can't do this. I said, okay. And then so the other day I saw this video on Instagram and it was very inspiring. It was like her running, snapping her fingers, putting her thing. I was like, what the hell is this? I looked at it like 3 times. I was like, is this Julie O'Malley? Like the same person I knew? Like it was incredible, right? And what I want you to share, Julie, is how, for everyone here, before we actually get into doing this, right? How did you go from being scared, nervous, paranoid to being able to do this? Like, what's the gap that everyone can learn from?
Well, to be honest, I still overthink it every day. And I think when you and I talked about it, you wanted me to go out and interview local businesses in the community. And for me, that was way out of my comfort zone. That required a lot of preparation and reaching out and actually talking on the video. And I just felt like, okay, I'm going to take baby steps, and reels, like Gary Vee said in Austin, TikTok or reels are the way of the future, and to be relevant, you have to be making them. I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can get on a 6-second video, and I don't even have to talk. I can just do a few hand motions or act kind of silly, and also share content, real estate content, and I'll just try that. And so I did a few of those, and then I joined Andrew Jevons Real Boot Camp, and it just pushing me more out of my comfort zone. But I figured, what the heck, I'm just going to try it, have fun with it, and that's what I've been doing.
So ready? Step one, she got out of her comfort zone. Step two, she found a way to make it comfortable for her. And step three, she still got to the right outcome. So look, and if you know this, and she'll say this, she wrote in the chat box, I'm nervous. She's an overthinker. Julie could overthink probably ordering lunch. Like, do I really want this? Or might not want this. Like, but that's just her personality, and she's embraced it, right? So how do you deal with understanding that everything you do is going to be overthought?
Well, I just know that's part of my personality, and I just have to just progress over perfection. Just put it out there and not worry about how many likes, how many views, whatever. And if someone doesn't like what I put on Instagram, I mean, that's their issue, not mine.
You can hit the unfollow button.
Which is, yeah, true.
So look, in the end, the thing that she's saying is she's not attached to the outcome. You're attached to the process. Right. Yep. So
exactly.
Like now as we talk about practicing and how we have these conversations, right? I want all of us to take an inspiration from Julie, because she's the perfect example that we all can model from, of someone who actually did it. Right. Like, and when I'm telling you, she was like mortified about doing this, just like, I just literally flat out. And like, I looked at her, I'm like, if I put, you ever know when you push and you push and push, if you push anymore, the person's like, can have a breakdown. They're going to tell you to go screw yourself. That is where she was in all this. I was like, all right, so this is just maybe not for her. And it'll surprise you. Right. So look, I think the other thing is that we all need to realize is there's more within you to do this. And also, on a side note, we are also in for-profit businesses. There is a shitload of money. A lot of money in knowing what to say. So Julie, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for always pushing me. Appreciate it.
See, now you've picked up a bunch of new fans.
Thanks, everyone.
So I want you guys all to start realizing this. Everyone hit yes if you all signed up for the platform where you can get an accountability partner? That's going to be my ask of everyone today. And if you have not, make sure you stay on, because we're all going to pick one scenario and start role playing, right? So here's one thing that I want everyone to think about. Is overpricing listings something that's happening all the time now? So here's a real relevant scenario. So if I'm working with Renee, right, and like I'm Renee's past client, and now I want to egregiously price my home $300,000-$400,000 more than the market, but I'm a client, I have a relationship. What do you do? So right, comfortable or uncomfortable? Is that a comfortable or uncomfortable place to be in? I will write this down in the chat. No bueno. It is horribly uncomfortable. So here's what I want you guys to start realizing. Start thinking about this in a bigger aspect, right? Brooke, do you have a copy of those learning maps? Did we make one yet? Let me share this. We'll share this at the end of the week. So I would build one of these out for what I needed to learn, right? We'll share this template with you, but this is the skill. I would change, we can change this to scenario, right? Need to learn, learning, mastery, outcome, applicable, catchphrases, priority. You need to start realizing and thinking through, what do I need to master based on my actual life? And what have I identified something I need to work on? What am I in the process of learning, and what have I mastered? The reason I'd share it and I created it this way is because you don't know how many things you're working on at once, and it can become very overwhelming and you don't get anything to mastery. The goal is to work on 1 to 2 things at most and get them to a point. We'll share this with you, Julie, don't worry. Get this to a point where you're like, I got it. When somebody asks me that question, I feel comfortable, confident, and I know I'm in a situation now to win, right? So this is how you build actual learning out for yourself as a real estate agent. You identify it. You need to know what mastery looks like, right? It's to get to your desired outcome 90% of the time. It's that simple for all of us, right? So like if somebody asked you, would you do it for less money? No. Do you have any other questions? That's it. And being comfortable saying that, right? Or I have Wayne from Redfin coming. I really love what you had to say, Chirag, but Wayne said he would do it for a percentage less. Oh, that's great. That's great. So, I know your time's really valuable, Wayne. So what specifically made you call me over here this evening if you were happy with what they would do at Redfin for you? And that forces the other person to tell you what the difference is, right? And then you could start getting into it. So you need to identify what these things are. And then the second part is you need to find somebody else who's looking to do the same thing as you and commit to doing the work. So you both master it. So Luciana said she just said this to a client yesterday, right? So let's go through this scenario, and I'm going to walk you through how to think about this. So number one, in any of these conversations that you're having, whatever you're sharing has to be in the benefit of the other party. Nobody cares about you. I care about you. Your colleagues care about you. Your sales manager cares about you. Your partners, your kids, they care about you. The other clients that are selling their home, they care about themselves. They are not your friends. And when they are your friends and you show up that way, you're being hired to do a service. I said to a client yesterday who I'm friendly with, he goes, I have a bunch of ideas to talk to you about on this thing. I go, does this have to do with your real estate business or the other stuff we're working on? He goes, the other stuff we're working on. I'm like, great. After this 30 minutes are done, I'll be your friend again and we can talk about that. But that's how you have to be about doing this with the people. So rule number one, everything has to be in the benefit of the other party. Number two, no explaining, no telling, no being combative. No explaining, no telling, no being combative. Remember, like in a novel, protagonist, antagonist, the protagonist helps you get what you want. The antagonist is against what you want. As soon as you start telling, explaining, and being combative, you no longer are on their side. You've lost. Number three, save this phrase. Brooke, I completely understand what you're saying. Regardless of what you decide to do, I support you 100%. I understand what you're saying, Corey. And regardless of what you decide to do, I support you 100%. Have I now taken the entire combative nature out of the scenario? Number 4, what they decide to do is always their choice. What they decide to do is always their choice. Remember when we talk about commission objections? Let's see. You see these two numbers? This is the 1% objection. The person said that they would do it for a percent less. Would you match it? I completely understand what you are saying. And regardless of what you do, I want you to know, Julie, I support you 100%. Great. How many things can you focus on at once? Oh, only one thing. So, really, it's your choice. We are focused on maximizing, or you focus on maximizing the $1 million that we could sell your home for and getting as much as we can and try to sell it above asking? Or are you focused on trying to save $10,000? Whatever you decide to do, it's your choice, and I support you 100%. It's their choice. Number 5, their choice does not always equal you making a compromise. Their choice doesn't always require you making a compromise. Now, here's where the asterisk comes in. In doing this, there are some times like, I get these questions all the time. Well, they said they do it like this and they only want to do it like this. What do I really tell them? Look, sometimes it's just a business decision, right? Like, it's sometimes what that person wants is what that person wants. And in the end, if they want to pay a certain commission and you really want the deal because of A, B, C reason, there's nothing wrong with that. There's no concrete blocks in all of this. These are skills that you learn to be able to have more powerful conversations where you're in control. And number 6, just remember this: the person asking all the questions controls the conversation. The person asking all the questions controls the conversation. Listen, this is the easiest thing you'll ever do in your life. Great, no problem. If that's what you want to do, I support you 100%. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? What do you think about this? You just keep asking them questions. And then understand how the conversation flows. So if you notice in the commission reduction one, they're talking about saving 1%. But when you look at either how do I get the most out of $1 million or how do I save $10,000, what do you think most people are going to do? I never really thought about it like that. Right? And then in this kind of market, when you go through the comps, you're going to say, if you market the home correctly, look at this home. It sold 3% above asking, 5% above asking, 7% above asking. That's the outcome we look for our clients. But I also completely understand if you just want to save on the bottom line. Has anyone shared with you what it costs if the pricing is done wrong in the beginning? Don't most people that are commission discounters serially overprice a home? They do. And there's statistics that back that up too. Homes that are overpriced in multiple price reductions. Is this making sense to everybody? I'm going to have you guys walking around like Jedi mind tricks people, like Luke Skywalker. We will be the force in doing this. But look, the other thing is this is better for other people. You're helping people get out of their own way. And the second part of that is this feels good for other people. Do you know how nice it is for a person to having a conversation that they want versus one that's being forced upon them? So I would turn that, Lloyd, I would turn that into a question. Do you believe, based on the agent relationships we shared, the marketing, the visual story we could tell for your home, and the way that we're able to negotiate that that would net you 1% more? Flip it on them. And if you're in San Diego, I hope you signed up, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Right? So I want you guys to start thinking about this, right? What if you point out with some of these discount brokers that they charge a la carte services? No, you don't need to point anything out. There's not, because so now you're explaining, right? Now you're explaining, you're being borderline combative, and you're telling them. That's assuming that they don't know the discount service is the a la carte thing and everything else. Remember, the people are negotiating for themselves. I'll be there locally with the local San Diego group, see it. And maybe one day this year I'll end up in San Francisco, who knows? The reality is too many people create unnecessary conflict. Give more examples of questions. Well, now you open the door for yourself. Give me more answers of crazy things that people tell you, and I'll give you more questions.
I'm looking at the combating the 1% still, because that is a constant here.
So I would ask him another question. You know,
Marketing.
Not even marketing. If they don't see the value in your 1%, part of this goes back to how you present, right? Like, so when you're going through, commission objections are handled actually prior to them ever coming up. So you do what I call anchoring statements, right? An anchoring statement is getting somebody to agree in their own words that what you're doing is the best for them, right? So what are your expectations of photography? And go ahead, you can play along. What are your expectations of the photography and the visual story that we tell for your home? Oh, you're muted. Oh, there you go. Hit the unmute button. Okay.
I expect professional photography.
Now, professional photography. And what do you think the financial impact on great photography versus mediocre photography will be?
I don't think there's much of a difference.
So, all right. So just excuse me, I might be unclear. You expect professional photography, but you personally believe there's no difference in a value that a home could get if I just randomly took the picture with my iPhone versus a professional photographer?
No, I expect a professional photographer, but I don't need drones or anything like that. Just a basic photography. I'm seeing houses sell before photos are even up.
Got it. And so, in your opinion, have you seen some homes where you like the photography more than others?
Yes, definitely.
And when people are looking online, what do you think they're really looking at? Choosing which homes they come to, and some potentially with more excitement than others.
I believe that they're coming to every house, no matter what it looks like online.
Got it. That's an interesting concept. Now, would it be okay if we actually went on to our app and looked at a few houses, and you could actually tell me what, if you were a buyer, what you thought the difference would be? Right now, I walked them through it, and if you know you're dealing with this, I would tee up properties that have shitty photos, right? And then I would tee up a good thing, right? And then I would say to somebody like, look, even if you went to a car and you were buying a car and it was the same car and one looked really bad and the other one looked really nice, conceptually, wouldn't you want to pay more for the nicer car because it looked a certain way, felt this different way, presented a different way? And the choice you have for your home is, do you want your home to look like this, or do you want your home to look like that? Right. And some of these people, and I know where you are in Long Island, have very old school mentality, and you're not going to change it. You have to ask them questions, and then you ask them the closing question. Based on what you're saying, if I'm able to create that exact scenario that you said would get somebody to pay more money, do you feel that that would help you get the highest price for your home? Yes. Because you need to get them to tell you what they think someone will pay the most money for. Great, I'll create that, right? And that takes a lot of practice. Do you
Those
see
are the
what
questions.
what's that?
Those are the questions I need. What will
Yeah.
get them? Yeah.
Yeah. What do you feel would make a buyer pay more? Because be like, look, based on statistics, like these houses look like this. So this is what you need to go through and practice. Now, I see a few more questions. I would find bad photography on the internet, right? Like that you can clearly show them. Good example of bad. If you have bad examples and you start showing them, that's more like lecture style. In this market, all you have to do is put in the MLS and it sells right away. That's I would say that's great. So what specific, if you feel that's the fact, what specifically made you call me here this evening? What are your expectations of an agent? Has anyone taken the time to walk you through the multiple offer process? No, yeah, well, I got to get multiple offers. Well, there's a lot of different things. Would it be okay if we shared with you what that process looks like and how real estate's become a little different, right? Selling the property is one thing, but looking at 25 different offers and figuring out what makes sense for you and negotiating something else. Have you thought about that? And there's some people that just don't care, and then some people you can open their mind. And the goal of these conversations is not to sell the unsellables. It's to work with the people that are helpable. I think for reducing it based if you represent both parties is smart. James, I think you might have emailed us about this. Anyone has questions, you have to post them in the platform. My email inbox is like a clogged set of just endless emails. And I want to share these with everybody, right? So how would you do as a seller who's willing to pay 3%? Listen, if it's a seller that's willing to 3% and list it like that, they're not interested in listing their home with an agent. So if you have a buyer, I'd bring the buyer and I'd ask him for 4%. Negotiate. When they expect a relationship discount, you could say, hey, let me go to my manager and see if that's possible. And then tell your manager that you're going to send an email and copy your clients and let your manager say no. Hey, no problem. Let me ask my manager. It's unfortunately, I can't make that decision. It's not my company. Oh, then will you cut it off of your side? No. That's it. Right? So look, we're at time. Brooke, you are a co-host, so you're good to go. So everyone, if you are not on this platform, please stay on and let them get you on. Your goal is to connect with someone on our platform in the role play group and find someone that's going to practice with you. Put the scenarios out there you're looking for and respond back to each other. Can we all do that, please? Say yes. Now, I'm going to be looking at who's actually doing this. So when you ask me a question that's out of this, the doers get more than the people that do not. That's just how I am. I'll be very transparent about that. So look, in all seriousness, though, I want you guys to practice because I want you guys all to win. Everyone has the opportunity to win. Nobody's doing this. Nobody probably is going to do this. But this is the benefit of a community, right? We can all have accelerated growth together. You hear me say this every single day. And I share this with you because I know this works. I know my most successful clients do this. I know how people have gone from here to here. So instead of trying to figure it out on your own, we can just take the advice of what other agents are doing that works. So I love you all. I'm going to be here next Monday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, you're in for a treat with 2 guest sessions. So Brooke,